Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Cowboys restructure CeeDee Lamb's deal. The Cowboys have restructured CeeDee Lamb's contract, per ESPN's Todd Archer, creating $20 million of cap space before the new league year begins next week. The team converted $25 million of Lamb's 2025 salary to a signing bonus and prorated it across the next 5 seasons. His 2025 salary has dropped to $1.85 million per over the cap, and his cap number from 2026 to 2029 will increase by $5 million in each year. The Cowboys' moves have clarified their cap picture heading into free agency. Dallas entered the day needing to create space to become cap compliant and potentially accommodate a $25.1 million franchise tag for Osa Odighizuwa. The team reached an agreement on a long-term deal with Odighizuwa to avoid the tag, but Lamb's restructure was still necessary to get below the 2025 salary cap. The Cowboys now have $17.9 million in cap space and can create more with an extension for Micah Parsons or a restructure of Dak Prescott's deal. Dallas is also carrying over $18.8 million of cap room from 2024 to 2025, per Archer, though dead cap hits from Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Brandon Cooks will effectively cancel out that carryover. The Cowboys also re-signed defensive back and special teams ace C.J. Goodwin on a 1-year deal. 2025 will be his 8th season in Dallas and 10th in the NFL. The former Division II wide receiver converted to defensive back in the NFL, but he has played more than 90% of his snaps on special teams. The value of Malik Hooker's experience with new Cowboys DC Matt Eberflus. When a new defensive coordinator comes to town, we've seen how they like to bring some of their guys with them to the roster. These veterans give the coach some comfort in terms of already knowing how to perform in his scheme, as well as the role they can play in helping their new teammates make the transition. With Matt Eberflus' arrival in the Cowboys, he may already have a guy in safety Malik Hooker. When Dan Quinn was hired in 2021, he brought LB/S Keanu Neal and S. Damontae Kazee with him from the Falcons. In 2022, Dante Fowler was also signed after getting released by Atlanta. Last season with Mike Zimmer replacing Quinn, LB Eric Kendricks and DT Linval Joseph soon followed based on previously working with him in Minnesota. We'll have to wait until next week, at the earliest, to see what free agents might be lured to the Cowboys by Eberflus. He certainly got his own pool of guys from the last 3 years as the Bears head coach, and 4 years as the Colts defensive coordinator before that. But there may already be one in-house Eberflus guy with Hooker, who played under him from 2018 to 2020 in Indianapolis. The 15th overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, Hooker was already in place when Eberflus left his job as linebackers coach in Dallas and became Colts DC in 2018. Hooker, who fell in the draft due to injury issues, suffered another bad one that year after just 7 games. Already at 3 interceptions and 4 deflections when he went down, Hooker was on pace to challenge for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Medical issues continued to keep Hooker from being a consistent impact player with the Colts. He missed 6 games from 2018 to 2019, one of them a playoff loss, and then nearly all of the 2020 season with an Achilles tear. Even before that next major injury, Indy had decided to decline Hooker's 5th-year option for 2021. His reputation for poor health was why he remained untouched in free agency that year until the Cowboys finally signed him just ahead of training camp. Since then, Hooker has only missed 4 games in as many seasons. After rotating with Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson in the first 2 years, he's been the Cowboys' full-time free safety for the last 2 seasons. He's now one of the veteran leaders on defense and one of the few stable presences in a secondary that's had plenty of other injury woes the last few years. We might quickly assume that Eberflus and Hooker will be happy to see each other again in Dallas. But should we? Remember, Eberflus wasn't part of the Colts staff when Hooker was drafted. He was part of it when they declined his option year and chose to let him walk in 2021, but we can't say how much influence Eberflus had on those decisions. What we do know is that even after they declined the option year, the Colts still named Hooker as a Week 1 starter in 2020. Here's what Eberflus was saying about him going into that training camp. Eberflus also said the following after Hooker's season-ending injury in 2020. It sounds like Eberflus still had plenty of respect for Hooker even though their time together ended. So as long as that goes both ways, it's not wild to guess that the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator is looking forward to working with the now veteran safety again. Hooker may be very important to Eberflus this year as he probably won't get much opportunity to bring in external free agents. If the Cowboys are as focused on keeping their own like Osa Odigizua, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Jordan Lewis as reports indicate, plus the Micah Parsons extension, that's not leaving much for outside hires. So in terms of having someone who's played in his scheme and can help teammates, Hooker may wind up being Eberflus' best and perhaps only translator. Ashton Jeanty just got one step closer to being drafted by the Cowboys. After watching the NFL Combine this past weekend, it is hard to advocate for the Dallas Cowboys to draft a running back with the number 12 overall pick. Given Dallas' need for a running back and the team's history of drafting the position high, though, the Ashton Jeanty buzz is off the charts. Jeanty did not work out at the Combine, but measured in at 5'8" and 211 pounds. The Boise State phenom is a better runner than he is an athlete, but as the consensus RB1 in the class, it's easy to understand why he opted out. Look for Jeanty to put his skills on display at his pro day. A date for that is to be determined, but the Jeanty Cowboys buzz is alive and well even though Dallas did not formally meet with him in Indianapolis. There was a reason for that. ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler reported that Jeanty will be a top 30 visit for the Cowboys. Team writer Patrick Walker noted that Jeanty will probably be a Dallas day visit rather than a top 30. Either way, this confirms the Cowboys will sit down with the Heisman Trophy finalist before April's draft. It's worth noting, too, that Jeanty got encouraging results from his combine medicals, per Fowler. We all know that a prospect's stock can crater due to poor medicals. Fowler understands that the elbow injury Jeanty suffered last season is not a long-term concern. While it would hard to throw a fit if Jeanty is the pick at number 12, given he could be an immediate superstar, the Combine emphasized just how deep and talented this class is. Amarian Hampton, Quinton Judkins, Travion Henderson, Bashal Tutin, R.J. Harvey and D.J. Giddens all boosted their respective stocks in Indy. Each of them would be strong picks on day 2 or 3. The list goes on. Iowa's Caleb Johnson, Kansas' Devin Neal, Oklahoma State's Ollie Gordon and Rutgers' Kyle Manengai are all quality prospects. There is oodles of value at the position on day 2 and beyond, and the gap between Jeanty and the other top backs isn't as vast as the draft world previously thought. With glaring needs at defensive tackle, edge rusher, cornerback, linebacker and wide receiver, selecting a running back, even one of Jeanty's caliber, at number 12 would be a questionable use of resources. We like to think the front office is aware of that. Jeanty being a pre-draft visit with the Cowboys is no surprise and hardly guarantees he'll be wearing a star on his helmet. It does confirm, though, that he's on their draft radar, so the storyline isn't going anywhere between now and late April. And you fan? What do you think about the situation of Ashton Jeanty? Write to us in the comments.